Live, local, now. This is the News at 5.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Rollins, co-anchoring the news tonight from Tybee Island.
And I'm Romney Smith. All eyes are on Hurricane Florence as the storm is expected to make landfall sometime early Friday morning in North Carolina. You can see in this video the impact from Hurricane Florence on beaches and the rough surf in parts of North and South Carolina. Tonight, WTOC has live team coverage in the South Carolina Lowcountry and Georgia. We start with WTOC Chief Meteorologist Dave Turley for the very latest developments on the hurricane.
And North Carolina really taking the brunt of the storm right now. Here's the latest as we can see. The 5 p.m. advisory is in. We have winds decreasing a bit down to 100 miles per hour right now, but the pressure holding steady and it's starting to slow down. West-northwest now at 5 miles per hour. We see those outer bands making their way into eastern North Carolina. Still about 300 miles or so to the north and east of our area, and we will continue to see that move slowly inland. Now, tropical storm force winds only extend out about 195 miles from the center, so we're not seeing any of those tropical storm winds anywhere close to our area. Not expecting any of those coming up here tonight or even into our Friday. Maybe by Saturday, that's when we're starting to see. These are some of the peak wind, or the current wind gusts, which we're seeing right now. We're getting some of those winds gusting right now in New Bern up to 52, Jacksonville 48, Cape Hatteras right now seeing close to a 50 mile per hour wind gust. The official track hasn't really changed all that much. Still expecting more of a landfall coming up here tomorrow into the North Carolina area. A little dip down to the southwest as it's really slowing down. You see by Saturday getting in there at 2 p.m. It's still north of the Charleston area, but then heads quickly towards Columbia going into Sunday, and then Monday it's out of the area. Notice the track stays to the north of our region, and that's where most of the rain showers are expected to be. So that's where the heaviest rain expected to stay north of our region. Right now the threats for our area still can't rule out tropical storm force winds, especially in the gusts, especially into our South Carolina areas. We're talking about maybe 40-plus mile per hour wind gusts, maybe later on Saturday and into Sunday. I think most of our Georgia areas, 25, maybe 30 mile per hour wind gusts. And the rain, well, might not see much in the way of anything. We're going to have a complete update for you with your first alert forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
And we're keeping a close eye on the conditions here in Coastal Empire and Low Country right here on Tybee Island tonight. Lifeguards are flying a double red flag, which means the waters are closed to swimmers, but you wouldn't know it because the beaches are packed with people. The conditions feel great out here. It's great weather. You wouldn't even know that there's a storm out into the Atlantic Ocean. Now, today, GEMA, Georgia Emergency Management Agency, activating their level 1, which is full activation, which means they are in constant communication with federal, state, and local agencies. That includes SEMA, Chatham Emergency Management Agency. They told me yesterday that if they were going to execute a mandatory evacuation, that deadline was this morning. So that deadline has now passed. Even though Chatham County is no longer in the cone of uncertainty, SEMA continues to keep a close eye on this storm. City of Savannah also has its own emergency coordination center where city resources are able to monitor the storm and deploy resources. It was actually activated during Hurricane Matthew and Irma. We spoke with the city manager today about whether they plan to mobilize the ECC ahead of this storm.
We take our cues from our partners at Chatham County, and so the Chatham County, working very closely with the cities and the state, determined that there was no need to elevate our readiness and our response posture, and so taking cues from the county, we just see no need for us to do that as well.
I spoke to Tybee Island Mayor Jason Bjulterman earlier today. He told me that many of the people here that we see here on the beach today actually evacuated from North and South Carolina. They came here to get away from the storm. And our team coverage tonight continues over in the Low Country, just a little bit north of us. Meredith Parker actually on the beach in Hilton Head Island where those waters have not been closed. Meredith?
Elizabeth, you're exactly right. The beaches do remain open here at Hilton Head Island. Beach Patrol wrapping up their shift, ending at 5 today. Now, Are people staying or are people going here at Hilton Head Island? When you're here on the beach, it looks pretty crowded. It looks like people are having a great time, families, and just enjoying this great weather. However, when you're in town, when you're on Highway 278 or even at the grocery store, it's very quiet in town. A lot of people have evacuated, according to the mayor. Now, as far as evacuations go, the Cross Island toll still remains free. You can see cars riding right through the post without stopping. When the initial evacuation was ordered, the toll closed down, but since the order has been lifted, no word yet on when they will pick back up with payments. Now, the mayor told me earlier today it is very clear that people have left the island. Vacationers told me the same thing. They also said it's been back and forth on whether to stay or to go.
They reversed it, and so the resort said we could stay. A lot of people left on Tuesday, cleared a lot of people out. Then we saw a lot of people leave Wednesday, but we've talked to a lot of locals, and all the locals are saying, it's going to be fine. And so we're just kind of going by that.
Now, interesting about the visitors you just heard from, they actually evacuated Hilton Head Island last year around this time with Hurricane Irma, and this was actually their makeup trip for this year. They said they wanted to make the most of the trip, and they're only going to be leaving a day early, which is tomorrow morning. Ahead, businesses are starting to close here on the island. I'll have that at 6. Reporting live from Hilton Head Island, Meredith Parker, WTOC News.
And, you know, as many places in the Low Country prepare and brace for the storm, you can't help but think about Hunting Island. They shut down after Hurricane Matthew, and then they were hit again after Hurricane Irma, and they recently just reopened, so they really just don't need something else coming through. Andrew Gordon joining us now live from Hunting Island. Andrew, how's it out there?
It's actually not so bad now. For about 14 months. You can probably hear the wind picking up here, probably gusts over 20 miles an hour already. Now, a park ranger told me earlier this week they had over 100 campers here. Now I can count on one hand how many folks staying the night out here. In fact, some those fallen trees from Hurricane Matthew, Hurricane Irma, what they're doing to prepare now, they're actually using a foam to close up some of the doorways to make sure that they don't get any water into some of these buildings that are close to the ocean. Also, a park ranger told me that they think they're already getting maybe a foot of storm surge because based on how the tides typically are, they think that this morning's was a little high. Now, right now, we're closer to low tide, but later on this evening, we're going to see if that comes into play again. And here at Hunting Island State Park, they are planning to stay open unless there is a major change, and there are people still here enjoying it. Live at 6, I'll have even more on what Hunting Island State Park is doing to prepare.
And again, with the amount of people out here today, you would never know that we're anticipating the possibility of what could come from Hurricane Florence. But City Hall, city government remains closed tonight here, and they don't expect to open until Monday. Also, residents here on the island filled 4,500 bags of sand over the last 2 days. So they're definitely prepared for the worst, definitely hoping for the best, Romney, because this weather out here is great, and I know that's definitely what they're keeping their fingers crossed.
Sounds good, Elizabeth. Thank you. And you will hear again from Elizabeth Rollins in the 5:30 half an hour. Well, more than 421,000 people have already evacuated the South Carolina coast. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster and his team updating the state's efforts ahead of the storm. WTOC's Mike Sela joins us now at the very latest on what officials are calling for. Mike.
If you have friends or loved ones living along those mandatory evacuation zones on the South Carolina coast, officials are warning that time is running out. Hurricane Florence is going to be bringing, obviously, hurricane and tropical force winds and flash flooding throughout the area. And there will come a point very soon where emergency officials have to hunker down themselves and ride out the storm. So if you stayed, you're on your own.
If you're going to leave, and you should leave, if you have not left these evacuation zones, you should leave now because time is running out. And remember this, once these winds start blowing at that tropical storm rate, it will be virtually impossible for the rescuers to get in to rescue you. And the governor also adding that there are two challenges with the storm. First,
facing the brunt of the storm as it moves through. Second, the recovery efforts after. Officials say there will be significant river flooding that could last until next week from all of the rain that we are about to receive in South Carolina. And they're also expecting landslides in the mountains in the upstate. So they're also going to have, they say it will happen, significant power loss throughout and damage to property and trees coming down. Reporting in the newsroom, I'm Mike Seaver.
We know that plenty of South Carolina evacuees are headed north on I-95, but a lot of others are headed west, further into Georgia. WTOC Bureau Chief Dal Kennedy spoke with some of them as they stopped in our area.
The traffic here on Interstate 16 looks to be a little bit more than the normal Thursday afternoon westbound flow.
The gas pumps at Clifton's looked like pit row at a NASCAR race as evacuees fueled up to keep heading toward Macon or Atlanta. Daniel Francis left Bluffton this morning to stay with family in Indiana.
They're back and forth with the evacuations that I just decided safety-wise for me and the 4 kids I have, it's safe to just leave.
Frankie McLaughlin made the trip to Hardeeville and back to evacuate her son's belongings.
All of these mounts. We have a goose and ducks and deer, and he had to have them, so Mama went to get them.
Karen Ross and her family headed west from Charleston, knowing what a hurricane like Florence can do to the coast.
We take them seriously. We did live through Hugo, and that will get your attention.
All 3 agreed hours and hours of driving beat taking their chances with such a storm so close to home.
And this traffic could continue even after Florence makes landfall in the Carolinas. And then at some point, you'll start seeing the traffic in the eastbound headed back home. In Candler County, Dal Kennedy, WTOC News.
And we've been actually seeing the great weather across our area, even though there's a hurricane to the northeast of us. We're actually seeing just a few clouds out there. It's pretty quiet. Current temperatures in the upper 80s and lower 90s, even 93 in Jessup. I think we're going to be just as hot, maybe a little bit hotter coming up here for tomorrow. Safe Touch Security First Alert Live radar not showing any showers locally here. Again, just a few clouds across the area. We have a little bit of a breeze out there. It's a northerly wind out there. You can see some of those winds right now out of the north at 12 over in Beaufort. And we're not really expecting a lot of wind in here again for today. It's been very quiet, but as we get closer to the weekend and as Florence continues to move more further inland, we're going to see some impacts from that. We'll have more on that, what the impacts look like for our weekend with our First Alert forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Welcome back. The city of Savannah is working to reach an agreement with its local firefighter union. Since 2012, the city and firefighters union have not been able to reach an agreement on the inclusion of captains into the bargaining unit and automatic pay increase clause. WTOC's Sean Evans joins us live from the Savannah City Hall with more on the latest negotiation attempt. Sean.
Yeah, the city of Savannah has recognized the local firefighter union, the IAFF Local 574, since 1971 as the official bargaining agent for the city's firefighters. The Savannah's Human Resource Director, Jeffrey Grant, walked council through the proposed negotiation points, some of them just cleaning up language in the proposed agreement between the city and the Local 574. Some of the new items would include measures to improve how promotions are handled, as well as seniority rights and military leave. City Manager Rob Hernandez said at the beginning of the presentation that he felt negotiations between the city and union reps happened in a spirit of collaboration and will help improve relationships between union members and the city. That said, as the presentation progressed, some on council expressed concern and a desire for more discussion.
Here we are at a agreement between both parties, where both parties have give, take, and brought best practices to the city. I am happy to clarify anything. I'm happy to do that with our association members, with myself, with the board, and show how it benefits the citizens. Nobody but the citizens. This is about recruitment, this is about retention, and this is about best practices.
And council will get that additional discussion. The item was tabled until the next council meeting. Reporting live inside Savannah City Hall, Sean Evans, WTOC News.
All right, thanks, Sean. Let's give you the latest on Florence right now. Again, the 5 p.m. advisory is out. You just got that update on your WTOC First Alert weather app. We have 100-mile-per-hour winds. The storm is weakening just a bit as it's now interacting with some land here, getting the outer bands already moving into parts of North Carolina. Heavy rain over in that area as it's moving slower now, west-northwest at 5 miles per hour. And you see it's about 50, a little over 50 miles or so, the center from coastal areas of North Carolina. Tropical storm force winds extend out about 195 miles from the center, so it's not even reaching the Charleston area, those wind gusts, and it's nowhere near our region. We're actually seeing some very quiet weather into our area, and that's what we expect to see for the rest of tonight into our Friday. Things will change a little bit by Saturday based on the track. Let's get into where the track is expected to be. Category 2 hurricane now, expected to remain a Category 2 hurricane as it gets making landfall, it looks like, sometime on Friday, moving inland and weakening by 2 p.m. on Friday, and then taking a little bit more of a dip down to the southwest. This will be Friday night into Saturday. And again, it looks like it's going to continue to move slowly into Saturday morning and even into the afternoon, staying to our north by Saturday at 2 o'clock, north of the Charleston area, just to the east of Columbia, and then tracking a little bit quicker as we head through Sunday. You see by 2 o'clock, 24 hours later, it's a much weaker system, a tropical depression, and then heading into the upstate of South Carolina, then out of here as you head into Monday and into Tuesday as the remnants head up towards New York State. So based on that track, we're looking pretty good locally for our area, especially further south that you go. The chance of seeing tropical storm force winds, not likely tonight, not likely into our Friday, still doubtful into Saturday morning, even into the low country, but into the Saturday afternoon, it's possible we can get some tropical storm winds up there in Hampton, in Beaufort, in the Bluffton area, and that'll continue through Sunday, especially as you get some of those outer bands maybe trying to make their way into Beaufort County and into Hampton and Jasper County. How much rain? GFS says really not much in the way of any rain showers out there through Monday at 11 o'clock, you see. And the European model, a little bit more they're expecting, maybe 1 to 2. So we can't roll out some scattered showers. I do think we'll have the best chance for that coming up later Saturday and into our Sunday. So that's what we're going to be tracking out here, and maybe seeing some winds gusting up there up to tropical storm or slightly higher in the low country areas. And that could be a concern for some slight power outages if you get those tropical storm winds out in that area. Again, much less into our southern areas. What we're looking at for the rest of tonight, pretty quiet weather. We got temperatures in the 80s, just a little bit of a breeze, generally 5 to 10 miles per hour, seeing a wind gust of 17. That's it over on Hilton Head. You see more breaks in the clouds with temperatures in the upper 80s and lower 90s. Not really seeing any rain showers as we keep things nice and dry locally here. Again, we expect it to be rather dry on the hour by hour through the evening hours. Friday looks to be like a nice dry day with a little bit of some cloud cover, but hot. Look at these temperatures. We're getting back in the low to mid 90s. Watching Florence on Saturday and Sunday. That's our best opportunity for seeing showers and maybe some gustier winds, but it's all out of here by Sunday night, Monday and Tuesday. Just normal rain chances across the area.
As always, you can keep track of Hurricane Florence by downloading the free WTOC weather app. There, you'll be able to look at regular forecasts, the radar, hour-by-hour forecast, get video updates, and more. Another way to track the storm is by heading to our website, WTOC.com, and by hovering over the Weather tab and clicking on the Hurricane Center area. That gets you access to a lot more information. If you're looking for something fun to do ahead of the storm, we have you covered right after the break.
Time now 5:23, taking a live look from our Jamie Casino traffic tracker is on I-16, looking at the traffic going westbound right now. And you can see some of the brake lights out there. We're getting into the normal traffic, as you would see, a slowdown right now. But, hey, we're still accident-free. That's good news. Even up in the low country right now, 278 looks good. 170 into Beaufort, I-95 here from Ridgeland down to Hardeeville. We are still all green. No accidents at this time.
Before the weather starts to take a turn for the worse, you can still get out and enjoy some delicious seafood in one of the most beautiful historic neighborhoods in the coastal empire.
Nestled on the marshes of the Moon River, the Pinpoint neighborhood is one of the most beautiful in all of Savannah. This weekend, they're inviting the whole community to come experience what they do best.
It's our 6th annual seafood festival, sponsored by our church, Sweetfield of Eden Baptist Church. Our pastor, Thomas J. Sills, is our pastor, and we are looking forward to the crowds, all of the good food, the entertainment, and just being able to give a little piece of this hidden jewel back to Savannah. I've already started cooking and freezing and putting stuff aside. My family's specialty is my grandmother's recipe of devil crabs and okra gumbo, but we have everything from smothered shrimp, low country boil, fried fish, fried shrimp, shrimp po' boys, lobster po' boys, you name it. Anything pertaining to seafood, somebody out here probably is selling it. This has always been considered a little piece of heaven away from Savannah, even though it's in Savannah. Everybody's always been close-knit in this small little community, so it's been awesome knowing that you can go from house to house and everybody knows each other. Just come on out and enjoy yourself. Bring an empty stomach and a pocket full of money.
In addition to delicious seafood, they'll have plenty of live entertainment for the whole family. And don't forget, I want to see your pictures. Use #SavannahWeekend. In Savannah, Cyria Sandlin, WTOC News.